Good morning, everyone. This is Jason Zaidama with the North American Maritime Ministry Association. Welcome to this week of internship training. It's wonderful to have you all here. I see there's still probably a couple folks that are coming on board in the next few moments. If it would be possible, if you can just raise your hand and lower it again, just if I could see that that everything is okay. You could just raise your hand and lower it. I just would like to see that everybody's good. So yeah, I can see 3 or 4 or 5 people, so everything seems to be good. So this week we have the great privilege of having someone coming in from another part of the world. Luca Tommasi is the project manager with the ITF Seafarers Trust. And the Seafarers Trust, we are very grateful, is the funder of the internship programs this summer. So Luca is a great guy to know and great to work with him. Luca was himself a ship visitor in Venice at Stella Maris Friends from 2004 to 2011, and since 2011 he's been working for the ITF Seafarers Trust. Seafarers Trust has lots of new and exciting programs, and it's an organization that you should know better no matter how you're going to serve in seafarers' welfare in the future. And so, Luca, it's wonderful to have you along with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jason. So I hope you can see me because I can't see you, so it's sort of a strange feeling. I'm talking to a computer, but I'm sure there's 10 persons there listening to my presentation. So thanks, Jason, for the introduction. And today I'm going to talk about the past, the present, and the future of the ITF Seafarers Trust. It's a great opportunity for me to talk about the trust with you, especially because we found it, which we think it's a very good idea to introduce some new people to the Seafarers Welfare family, especially in the NAM organization, which is doing very well over the last few years. So I'm gonna go through my presentation and then leave some time for a question at the very end. So as I told you, I'm going to talk about past, present, and the future of the trust. So we've been around for 35 years, so there's quite a few information you might want to know. And then I'll introduce you to the portfolio project we're trying to roll out over the next few years. So let's start with a bit of a history. The trust up to 2014. So the ITF Seafarers Trust was established in 1981 in the UK. So therefore, this means that you have to comply with the UK charity law, which is quite strict. And I'm telling this because there was a lot of discussion about all the amount of reporting we're asking to our. One of the reasons is because the legislation here in the UK on monitoring the charity is quite strict. So this is an important point for you to understand. So we were established 35 years ago as a grant-making organization trying to support seafarer welfare worldwide. We have assets of around 40 millions, and so far we gave out around 150 millions in grants towards seafarers welfare. The budget for this year, just for grants giving, is around 2.6, and I would like to say that we are running a bit short. So, if you have good idea, please talk to Jason, and we can discuss some new projects. I would like to explain you where our funds come from. So, I'm sure you know the ITF. The International Transport Worker Federation. So we are sort of the charitable arm of the ITF. But it's important for me to stress the fact that we are two separate entities. So the trust is a charity registered in the UK and dealing mainly with the seafarers welfare, where the ITF is an umbrella organization of trade union so sort of membership organization, so trade union opposite to a charity. We are working very closely, of course. We are sharing the same building, the same finance department, and all the contacts we got around the world with the ITF inspectors and affiliates. So where our funds come from is from the so-called welfare funds of the ITF, which is a funds where ship owners pay their the money that are due after they sign an agreement with the ITF, and the price is $250 per seafarers per year. So if ship owners that sign an agreement with the ITF are supposed to pay this money into the welfare fund of the ITF. Once that money are there, the ITF just transfer to us a so-called gift aid. This year was 1.2 million, but in 2014, and you understand why later on was much bigger, it was 10 millions. So this is the very close connection we got with the ITF. Of course, we got assets of around 40 million, which are invested, so we got our own income, and we are very lucky not to have the necessity to do fundraising, which, you know, cost a lot of time for many other organizations. I move on, and after 2014, the long-standing head of the trust at that time, Tom Holmer, that you might have met in another presentation, or you will meet in the future, he decided to step down to move on. So my trustees decided that that would be a very good timing for launch a so-called strategic review to look into terms of reference of the trust and see if you are following the right path, or if we need to take a detour or change some aspect of our grant making. These are the points that one of our affiliates, a Norwegian affiliate, pointed out to us. So these are different, just 5 of them. There's many more. It's a book thick, this thick, and I'm gonna start from the first one. So the first and the quite clear suggestion was to make the trust more visible. I'm sure some of you, I'm not sure about your background, so some of you have been in Seafarers Welfare for a while. You might know that there's confusion between ITF Seafarers Trust, which I hope I've explained the difference. So the decision was here to start a rebranding process. As you can see on the right side of the screen, there's our new logo. That was the first step to try to separate the identity of ITF and the trust. As you can see, there is a proud seafarers alongside his vessel. And the previous logo, which you still might see on some vehicles running around the US and Canada, it was like an ITF logo, which just ITF Seafarers Trust written underneath, which was a bit misleading. This is a completely new logo, and the second step we took was to launch our new website, which I'm sure you visit every day, so you might know about that. The second point that came out of the review was to work more on the implementation of the MLC 2006 and specifically on Regulation 4.4 to do with access to shore-based facility. And we'd already started this in 2014 when we launched a pilot project called International Port Welfare Partnership, which aim was to establish port welfare committees around the world and share common practice and expertise with people that are about to launch this kind of committee. I don't know, I'm not sure if you know what is a port welfare committee. Just to summarize quickly, it's a committee where all stakeholders from the port are sitting, so like port authority and agents, trade unions, voluntary organizations, so all sitting on the same table and discussing seafarers' welfare issues happening in that port. The pilot project was very successful, so just recently we approved a grant for 3 years to expand that project, which actually I've seen from the list of participants. I've seen that there's someone working in Savannah, so you might know about that because Peter Tomlin is coming over and try to establish one in Savannah, which we know it's sort of tricky situation. Next point is continuing supporting the our main partners, the usual suspect as we call them, like all the frontline organization, AOS, Mission to Seafarers, and all independent seafarer center around the world, mainly in US and Canada. There's just quite a few. So we will keep on sponsoring you, but we will trying to capture some new ideas. We're trying to change the way seafarers welfare is done, and working with Jason has been quite a pleasure on this this regard. Some other usual suspect we will keep on sponsoring. It's going to be NAMA with this capacity building, which we've been running for I think this is the 4th year. So we're supporting Jason's position, and which was a very successful project because, of course, NAMA has completely changed over the last few years. It's much more modern organization, trying to do all sorts of things differently. So great success. We sponsor, as Jason told you already, this interns project, another very interesting project because we like to see some new people within the seafarers welfare. One of the main issues is that there is a very aging population running seafarer centers, so some new people coming with new idea. That I think that's very important. And some other usual suspects are Ice One that run the Welfare Award, the Seafarers Helpline, and another major grantees we want to support in the future, keep on supporting, is Seafarers Rights International, which is an independent center dedicated to advancing the rights of seafarers through research, education, and training. A new aspect that came out of the review is that we will, our trustees would like to work more with ITF affiliates, which are trade union based in different countries, which are a member of the ITF. Some of them are quite good at running welfare projects. I just came back from the Philippines and I visit the AMOSAP facilities. AMOSAP is the biggest union in the Philippines. I think they have over 100,000 members, and they do an incredible job. So they run 4 hospitals around the Philippines. And the system in the Philippines, health system, is similar to the US. So you have to pay when you go to hospital, where these hospitals are free for AMOSAP members and their families. So a great achievement, I have to say. So we would like to export some of this good idea, good practice that some affiliates are doing with their members to other countries. And then the 4 years planning cycle is a way through which we run our budget. So we no longer have a yearly budget, we have a budget for 4 years. And I mentioned before that we got 4 years, sorry, in 2014 we got this large gift aid from the ITF. And the reason why we got that 10 million is because those money are spread over a 4-year planning cycles, which lasts 4 years because that's the span between an ITF World Congress to the other. So we got another 2 years to conclude this 4-year cycle planning cycle, and then we're going to rediscuss the budget again. So every 4 years, there's going to be this cycle. So after the review, we hire a new head of the trust, Kimberly Karlshoy, and we decided to change our statements, so which you can read on the screen, but I read it for you. So we financially support organizations that provide services to maritime workers, and this is the part more to do with frontline organizations, so keep on supporting the frontline organization. We invest in long-term programs that improve seafarers and their family health and well-being, and this is more to do with our proactive projects. So we are no longer just a grant-making organization, but we just started running our own own projects. And we act as a catalyst for positive normative change in the maritime community. This is the most difficult bit of our state, and I would say, because it has to work with the maritime community in general and a big organization like IMO and some association of ship owners like Intermanager. I'm going to tell you a bit about our operational approach, because it changed quite a bit over after the review. So we improved our grain making system and introducing a new grain making software, and we launched our application form, which is now just online. So the only way to apply for a grant is going to go to our website and apply online. So what I would like to tell you is that we changed this grant making system because we have an issue in the past with reporting on our projects. So, and I like to stress this point every time I do a presentation. So what we are trying to achieve is that we are investing money on new the kind of organization that runs Seafarers Center, for example. And what we are getting back is not, of course, a monetary return, but a social return on our investment. So I'm telling this because it's been quite controversial, and I know that many organizations don't like the amount of reporting we ask after they receive a grant. But it's very important for us to get the proper reporting, and Jason is very good at that, I have to say, so I'm not complaining with NAMA. But for us to try to assess the impact that our project achieved, it's paramount to have proper reporting. So I just wanted to say this. Then we're gonna, another new technology we try to implement with our stream of work. It's Global Information System, is GIS. I don't know if you know what it is. It's sort of way of visualizing information on a map. So we've already bought the software, and we are hiring an intern that studied GIS to take him in and put a big screen on the wall in our office with the map of the world, and we're gonna add layers and layers of information. The easiest I can mention is, for example, you can see on this world map all the vehicles which are available around the world, or the Seafarers Center which are available around the world, and you can see, of course, much easily the gap around the map. This is just a very basic use, but you will learn, you will hear about it in the future. It's a very powerful tool. Then Maritime Funders Group, it's a committee of maritime funders. There are quite a few around the world, and it was established last year at NAMA conference in Montreal, and we're trying to sit down at the table, on a table with these other funders, and try to join forces to put more resources in some particular project, and try even to streamline the way people apply to our organization, which at the present time are quite different. So we would like to give the opportunity to all the applicants to have a very similar way to apply. And then the proactive project that I'll tell you about in a moment. And we decided to divide our goals in 4 different areas, which we call, our portfolio projects are divided into 4 different areas, which I introduce now. So the first is called Port of Call, and it has to do with well-being in port. So, and this has to do with the kind of organization you work with. So we start researching in current welfare needs, launching a survey last year, which we are collating the result now, and see what seafarers really say about seafarer centers and the quality, the quantity of the service provided in ports, how we can improve it, what is good already. And we always are in discussion with the crew too, and many other organizations, frontline organizations. My phone rings constantly. I'm in discussion with so many people on the field, and as soon as I can, and I go traveling, I go and ship visiting again, because I think the most important thing is still be in touch with seafarers, talk to them, and listen to them. So we want to help you to build your capacity, so the capacity of current welfare providers, and we've done this with great success with NAMA. That was an example, and we would like to provide you with more tools to improve the quality of the service provided to seafarers, because this is our last commitment. And we were going to introduce a ship visitor welfare course recently. We are we're going to actually launch it probably next year. We are in discussion with World Maritime University to launch this quite thorough course, which is different from the one you might have attend, which is the one run by Merchant Navy Welfare Board, which is more focused on safety and security, to how to go on board a vessel and work in a port environment. This course is much more broad in scope. We're gonna talk about all legislation or international regulation affecting seafarers, and many other issues that are seafarers are experiencing during their job, like working in a very cultural diversity, criminalization, bullying, harassment on board, and talking about various research has been done on seafarers fatigue, or how we can improve communication on board, and how the crew are managed and manned. This is gonna start probably next year. And the last bullet point is about unmanned centers, which is something we just signed a contract with an architect to provide. This is just a pilot, so we're gonna provide, we're gonna produce 5 20-feet container boxes, which are equipped with Wi-Fi access, tablets, and furniture for sitting down and use the computers. We would like to send these 5 containers on a ship, of course, and be deployed somewhere around the world where there's no welfare facilities. So we would like to work with NAMA on regards to this, because I'm sure there's very isolated area where seafarers can go nowhere. So I think it's a very interesting idea, and something that can be just temporary. So being a container can be placed there for, let's say, a couple of years, and when it's no longer needed, it can be moved somewhere else. So this is just a pilot project. So we're going to produce the first 5, and then we'll see how it goes. The second area is called Horizon, and it has to do with well-being at sea, because we are used to see seafarers in ports, of course, but they spend most of their time at sea. So it's an area we want to start working more, because it's really affecting seafarers. The first step is to launch a series of workshops. The first one is already booked for October this year, and it will be dealing with mental health, isolation, and depression. So and the participant to this workshop will be chosen not just in the maritime sector, but even from outside that sector, because we think that there's many areas which hasn't been explored thoroughly within the maritime world. So calling some other expert and sitting at a table discussing this practice can be very, very important. So at the end of this workshop, which is going to last a couple of days, we're going to produce a booklet, and we're going to give area of interest where the trust would like to invest. So coming out of the discussion, the workshop, there will be some bullet points that the expert have found that can be important for seafarers, and we're going to make this booklet available for free to everyone, so people can read it, know more about these health issues regarding seafarers, and find some area where they might be expert and apply for a grant. Then we want to make technology work for seafarers at sea, and we would like to launch some health apps which are still a bit behind, I have to say, but just worth maybe mentioning that the ITF Seafarers Trust was the first organization to launch an app specifically designed for seafarers, which is still called Shore Leave, and you might know. And safety on board, it's another important point, because when we do a survey and we ask seafarers what you need more while you are in port or at sea, or whatever, when you are on board a vessel, the first answer is always internet. And most of the time, the second answer is better food. So we would like to make another workshop dealing with nutrition and the food served on board. And we would like to show ship owners that with that amount of money they spend daily on each seafarers, they can produce much better, they can give seafarers much better food. The EAP, it's an employee assistance program, and it's still at a very early stage, but it's actually something that employers offer to their employees. So it's like a helpline where, in this case, seafarers can call if they have some issues to do with their, it's sort of short-term counseling and referral service for employee and their immediate families. So seafarers can call if they have an issue home, or if you have some. This is a very early stage, so I won't talk much about it. Next one is Beyond the Blue, which is well-being at home. And seafarers, most of seafarers goes to sea because they want to support their family, because they can get a good salary, better than the salary they might get if they were working on shore side. So we would like to do more for their family as well. Especially Filipinos, they're not just supporting their family, not just their wife and kids, but quite extended family, which can include quite distant relatives, friends, and so it's very important for them to manage their money properly. So we were looking into launch a pilot project in the Philippines to see which gonna be the best way to produce a series of financial literacy training where one expert can teach seafarers and their family, of course, together how to better manage their household income and meet short-term and long-term financial needs. Disaster emergency grant making, it's a very interesting one. It's something that we thought when we were dealing with Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. And it's very difficult to act quickly and spend the money properly in a very quick way, and especially release the money quickly. So my trustees decided to set aside funds of 100,000 British pounds to be quickly released in case a seafarer's country is affected by a disaster, like, as I mentioned before, the Philippines, but it might be any other country. So we would like to work with affiliates on the field to release quickly this money and use them in the best possible way. So for this reason, we are producing so-called disaster handbook, which is intended to become a valuable resource for responding to both large and scale disasters. Scholarship program is to support seafarers' children and to improve their education. And health and well-being for families, again, is to do with families improve their well-being back home. Seachange is the last bit of our portfolio projects, and it's the most complicated, I would say. It's to do with normative change and social recognition. So I still remember when I first started ship visiting, for me it just was a brand new world. I didn't know anything about seafarers. I didn't know I got so many seafarers just on my step door. And so we would like the general public to know more about it. And we're trying to work with a photographer to launch a year-long campaign. So we would like to send him on board ships to try to explain not just the bad side of the maritime industry, but even the good side. So the good, the bad, and the ugly of the seafarer's life. We would like to improve education maritime school, so we were thinking of funding some maritime school to do some special courses for seafarers, and we would like to work more on women at sea, as we call it, and we just launched a project which is run by more a research run by Southampton University to look into considering that just 2% of the maritime global force are women, and this is including passenger ships. So I think if you without passenger ships is less than 1%. But if you go to maritime school, that percentage is more higher. It's around 5–10%. So we like to understand why all these women don't continue their career at sea after the first or second contract, and we found out some interesting findings. The research is going to be published by the end of the year, so we're going to heard about it again. And the last point is that we're going to continue funding Seafarers Trust International to fight against criminalization of seafarers and all the problem they may face being in such a peculiar environment. So these are all the project we are running and we will running in the future, and I hope you find the presentation interesting, and I hope you might have many questions to ask, so I'll leave the floor to you.